Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we're here with something a little bit different. I want you guys to close your eyes, cast your mind back 25 years ago, which admittedly I can't do because I'm not quite 25 yet, but still, imagine it's the late 1990s, Formula 1 is seeing an upturn in interest around the world, and then suddenly one of the greatest ever alliances, on paper, has been formed. Yes, in late 1999, it was confirmed that Formula 1 from the year 2000 onward would be racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the iconic home of the Indy 500. Now, Formula 1 in America has always been a bit of an odd combination. Obviously, in more recent years, we have raced at COTA, hence why this video is coming out this week, because Formula 1 is finally back this weekend for the US Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. But I wanted to find out what it would be like if Formula 1 returned to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So I've jumped in to my all-new favourite sim, Automobilista 2, and today we are going to find out what it would be like, yeah, Formula 1 returns to this iconic circuit. Well, here we are then in one of the cars that they would have used the last time Formula 1 was racing around Indianapolis. If ever there's an excuse for me to bring a V10 car to a video, you guys know I'm pretty much always going to take it. So the first half of this video is going to be a little bit more of a history lesson, kind of explaining obviously what went wrong with this combination, which I'm sure many of you will already be well aware about. And then the second half, we will take a modern Formula 1 car, put it into, you know, a 5 or 6 lap race, and we'll just wait and see as to kind of what chaos ensues. But yeah, Indianapolis, for those of you that maybe are more recent Formula 1 fans, hosted the US Grand Prix between the year 2000 and 2007. The first few races went off without a hitch, and then the first real problem came in 2004. Ralf Schumacher racing, I believe, for Williams that year, might have been Toyota by that point, had a horrible crash as he made his way through the banking of the final few corners. Now, that was just a bit of a one-off incident. Nobody really kind of looked at it for long after that, you know, just a bit of a mistake on Ralph's part. But it was 2005 where things got a little bit more awkward. The FIA had introduced new rules for the 2005 season to try and stop Michael Schumacher and Ferrari from their ever-continued domination in the sport. So they announced that year that there would be no tyre changes during Grand Prix. The set of tyres you started the race on was the set of tyres you had to end the race on. Obviously, yeah, if you got a puncture or something like that, you could change them, but this absolutely ruined Ferrari. Them and their Michelin tyres just did not work throughout most of the season. But Michelin here had a bit of a problem. The banked final corner, which is Indy Turn 1, for those of you that don't know, is only cambered at about, I think, 6 or 8 degrees. But that was a problem because Michelin could not get their tyres to work through that corner. Not for, you know, the full 71 or 72 laps of a Grand Prix. They couldn't get them to last more than 10. Now, that was a big issue because 14 of the 20 Formula 1 cars that year used Michelin tyres. It was only Ferrari and the two backmarker teams of Jordan and Minardi that used Bridgestone tyres. So, you know, you'd think surely you could change the track or, you know, allow teams to pit or even, you know, install a chicane like we've got on this version of Indianapolis. Not the FIA. Every team had to unanimously agree that obviously they would make this track change. And of course Ferrari, considering it would end up being the only race win they take all year, flat out refused. Now Bridgestone, through their US company Firestone, actually knew that this would be a problem for the Michelin. So they brought out super hard tyres that would obviously guarantee themselves to last right the way through the Grand Prix. And yeah, for the start of the 2005 US Grand Prix, I'm sure you guys have seen the iconic shot as well. Iconic for all the wrong reasons. I'll get my editor to put a picture up here of the 6-car grid that started that race. Now, Indianapolis, it was contracted until 2007. It was, you know, the 2006-2007 race actually went off without a hitch. Lewis Hamilton, famously, won the last ever Grand Prix here. His second ever win in Formula 1. But after 2007, it was over. The dream was dead. They just could not recover from that 2005 Grand Prix. And Formula 1 once more would leave America for the next 5 years, of course, before its famous return in 2012. It's one of Formula 1's most famous stories of the 21st century. It's one of the biggest farces ever in the sport. It would be Michael Schumacher's only win of 2005, Ferrari's only win of that year. And yeah, it was an absolute farce. Now, the Indianapolis circuit, for those of you that, maybe either watched my F1 Championship Edition series or are just well versed in the world of motorsport, will know that the version they used to race at is actually very, very different to the one we've got now in Automobilista 2. Now, obviously, the old circuit, you did go right the way through Indy Turn 1, admittedly backwards, but yeah, you carried on straight through that final corner, and then obviously went completely flat out right to the end of the circuit. There was also 3 extra hairpins, which have now, I believe, actually been completely lost. I don't think any series, as far as I'm aware, actually uses those old hairpins anymore. I don't even know if they're there, to be completely honest. I know the 2 back-to-back ones down the end of the straight, the back straight, I guess you could call it, around this circuit are definitely gone. But we'll take a quick look, see if they're here, or at least the tarmac's still here inside this game. Now, AMS2, of course, I love this sim. I'm surprised it doesn't have the classic version of Indy, but here you go. So you just arced round, you can actually see on the minimap at the top right-hand side of your screen. You went round that hairpin, and then you came back out on to the back straight as well. So this is a very, very different track to the one that Formula 1 used to race at around this venue. And it does make you wonder, could they come back here now? Could obviously with the, the removal of that chicane, this circuit still delivers brilliant races in both IndyCar and NASCAR in this current configuration. So I'm going to go for one more fast lap, just because I really want to. And again, V10. And then we're going to take 20 modern Formula 1 cars around this circuit as well then. So your lap really starts as you make your way through this final tricky chicane there. Second gear through the exit, and then you've got this flat-out run back round to the start-finish line there. Try to avoid running up towards the wall, and then you go over the iconic yard of bricks to start a lap here at Indy. You want to be braking at about 200 metres out, ready for turn 1, speeds in excess of 190 miles an hour here. This is one of the fastest race circuits in the world, and they made sure to capture that speed as well with its road course layout. Through the first few corners, back end tries to snap round on me. Luckily, we're able to gather it up, and then through this very, very fast pit-path chicane there. Basically entirely flat out. You just got to be a bit careful on the curbing on the exit there, and then braking once again at about 300 metres out from this tight 90-degree left-hander. Through the chicane, again, you're just balancing the throttle in second gear. They're trying to make sure you compromise your run on the exit to get a better run through this 90 right off the turn there. Now you've just got a couple more corners to go of the lap here as you try and open up the car, get it over to the left-hand side, brake at the 300 board again, and then just mash your foot to the floor through this last chicane there. Get the power down out of that final corner. Just try and keep it completely flat as you open up the run back towards the line. Shortest run to the checkered flag, and that is going to be a lap then of Indianapolis. And I tell you what, a 108.5, I think that's going to be even quicker, of course, in a modern Formula 1 car. It would be an incredibly short lap around this venue, almost as short as Austria, I think. Anyway, let's go get a modern Formula 1 car, and we'll see what we can do. Well, here we are then with 20 modern Formula 1 cars here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it is going to be lights out and away I don't react. Hopefully that'll give us a bit more room as we make our way down in towards turn 1, but for the first time in almost 20 years, Formula 1 cars are racing once again here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I know I've said it before, I seriously think Formula 1, if they want to continue trying to dominate the US market, they need to organise a race weekend here with IndyCar and NASCAR all on the same weekend. Imagine the value for money if you could come watch 3 races in the same day around this circuit. I think it would be a really, really cool idea that, you know, should be something that they look into doing in the future. You know, even if it was, you know, all 3 series race on this GP layout on the same day. I'm not proposing that you could try and run the Indy 500 on the same weekend as well, though. I think that might almost be too good value for money. I'd want to go, seriously, if they managed to get a triple header here, because not only would obviously you try and get, you know, fans of Formula 1 into watching NASCAR and IndyCar, but you'd also get fans of NASCAR and IndyCar to come watch a Formula 1 race, which normally they wouldn't. Now, seating here, I believe, is something ridiculous, like, it's over $250,000. You could certainly sell a lot of tickets as well. Obviously, this is in the heart of Motorsport Valley in the US. People that live near Indy love their motor racing, so, you know, this is why it was the perfect combination when Formula 1 originally came here back at the start of the new millennium. And honestly, I think it's a real shame that it didn't work out better. Of course, Formula 1 since then, as we've said, has absolutely exploded in popularity in recent years. You know, it is now, I don't think it's quite caught NASCAR or IndyCar in the US, but it is certainly, you know, getting there, and is a lot, you know, it is common knowledge now in the US. It has finally done what they always wanted and kind of achieved itself as a mainstay sport across the pond. But it still feels like, you know, racing in Vegas, yeah, is a fun novelty. The Miami circuit just feels completely kind of just odd still, and I think especially now with Vegas, it's kind of lost any kind of charm that it once had. And obviously COTA, I must admit, I do love COTA. I do think it's a really, really good circuit, and obviously now IndyCar and NASCAR race there as well. I think, you know, COTA is certainly one that I would love to... If I had to pick between the 3 US circuits, I think COTA would be the one I'd still pick there. As this guy, I'll tell you what, that's the second time I tried to dive bomb him in this race. He's not having any of it in the early laps here. He just wants to hang on to that position, and as we slowly build up confidence in this car, hopefully we're going to try and make up a move fairly soon in this race there. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If this is your first ever video of me playing AMS2, I love this sim at the moment. I want to do some career modes with it at some point in the future, because I really want to kind of dive into it more and more. And apparently career mode is coming in either 2025 or 2026. So you bet if... Oh, well, hopefully I'm still going to be making videos by then. But you bet I'm going to be giving that a go. It's down the inside. Oh, he just turned in on me. Come on, you're going to give me some room. I was comfortably down the inside before we made it into the braking zone. And that is Sutton, I believe it is. Oh, yeah, he's really desperate to try and cover me off there. This time around, we'll get the run on the 24 car out in the final corner. And it's only taken me 4 laps, but we're finally not last in this race. But, I mean, in terms of tracks that it's probably similar to on the Formula 1 calendar, I'm not really sure this place is similar to any of them, to be honest. It's a combination, of course, of some very low-speed corners, some very high-speed sections as well. But this is the thing, I don't think anything comes close to Indianapolis. Just straight up, I just don't think any other circuit in the world, even the road course, you know, this road course does feel special as a racing venue, and I absolutely love that as well, because, I mean, this was just meant to kind of be basically a filler when it was kind of built in. It was kind of just allowing them to host more and more racing series, and I genuinely love this circuit. Now, I must admit, maybe there's a little bit of nostalgia, but I do prefer the old layout with the 3 hairpins as well. I think it just added, you know, an even greater dynamic was between, obviously, the low downforce needed for the start-finish straight and the high downforce needed through that section of corners. But I think, yeah, this new version still obviously does give you a lot of kind of flexibility as well in terms of setup and kind of things like that as well. Now, obviously, your best opportunity for an overtake is down at turn 1. It does kind of narrow itself up in towards that first braking zone there, but I certainly think you could still get a dive bomb or 2 into that first corner. Of course, Hamilton and Alonso, that iconic duel down the front straight all those years ago when they were both down at McLaren for that one ill-fated season. But, yeah, I mean, this place certainly has delivered its fair share of good battles as well there, as you just see another couple of cars trying to showcase one of the other overtaking places on this lap. But, I mean, just trying to chuck it through. The back end feels so loose. Desperately trying to find grip. Wherever we can. And that's not exactly what I wanted to do. I was saying the back end felt loose, and immediately, I've gone and thrown it away there. That's a little bit of a problem. Later on in this race, but I guess it gives us a chance to try and go for a push for a fast lap right towards the end of this one as well there. Luckily, I remembered to disable damage, although tyre wear is on for this video as well, so you can see we get all those kind of temperature controls, so much more detail than you get in the Formula 1 game as well. You know, this car is so much more dynamic and interesting, and dare I say it, more fun to drive as well, if not a little bit more leery and unpredictable. But as I've always said, you know, AMS2, iRacing, they all just give you a much more rewarding feel than the F1 game does nowadays. There as 3/10 up through that first sector. That's pretty good going. I wonder how close we could get to a sub 1 minute lap time around here if you absolutely nailed it and you had the setup sussed out and everything like that. I reckon you're probably sensibly, genuinely looking down towards like the 102s, the 103s here, which, yeah, would be on pace with Austria. So, I mean, yeah, this race would probably be, I think this circuit's 2.5 miles long, so you're probably looking at around those 70 laps, and I don't actually know. I would assume this layout is FIA Grade 2. I don't believe even if they wanted to, technically, you could host an F1 race here, but honestly, looking around, I don't really see a problem with it at all there, as that's going to be a 109, I believe. So, we're getting better. Obviously, this is, you know, we've got full tank of fuel, everything like that. We're like pushing the battery as well there, but that turn 1 braking zone is really difficult, as we're actually going to get our first track limits warning of the race as well there on this final lap. A little bit gutted that I spam, but I think, you know, the AI were doing a pretty good showing as to just what kind of battles you could get around this venue as well there. And unfortunately, yeah, I don't think we're going to catch back up to Sutton by the end of it. It is going to be a driver, though, with NV as their initials. It's going to take this one. So, fake Max Verstappen, I think we're going to call him. He's going to be back to winning ways, apparently, this weekend over in Texas. As we round our way, though, through the final couple of corners. That curve is lethal. That curve is genuinely terrifying, it would appear, and sadly I learnt that the hard way. But through the final couple of corners, there we go. That is Indianapolis in the modern Formula 1 car. Let me know down in the comments below whether you guys would like to see Formula 1 potentially return to this circuit in the future. And if you would, which of the current US Grand Prix do you think they would have to scrap ready to host a race here? My guess would be Miami, if I'm being completely honest. But thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon with more Formula 1 content.